What is up, my friends? It is your host, Nick Anderson, also known as Amongst the Whiskey, and today we are rocking it with Stag Jr Batch 24C. This is the latest and greatest from Buffalo Trace, and I'm gonna peel this foil and find out if this batch is legit. Let's go. So for today's tasting, obviously this is going to be a fresh crack. I have not had any prior experiences with this bottle. So the thoughts and experience I have with the bottle here today may not be my final thoughts on this. When I do written reviews, I always try to taste 3 times. Yes, 3 times before I give any kind of score. I also like to struggle to get foil off of bottles. So I busted out the pocket knife because I could not, for the life of me, get a damn fingernail underneath this foil. So I will taste this 2 more times before I do my full review on amongstthewhiskey.com. But I thought I'd hop on here and give you the early access, the first impressions, find out if it's a stud or a dud right out of the gate. Batch 24C is ringing in at 128.9 proof. You can see that they now put the batch number on the bottle, which is great for us enthusiasts. Obviously it doesn't say junior anymore either. I'm gonna keep calling it junior. And of course got the right glass for the job. Oddly enough, 24C came out basically the same time as 24B. Both of them are kind of buzzer beaters for 2024. Feels like they went, oh crap, 2024 is almost over, and we started doing 3 batches a year. Let's just crank out 2, send them off to the masses. I do also have a bottle of 24B on the way, but the only one I have available for me today is the 24C, so that is what we will taste. Let's go! Very nice. Into the glass it goes. And almost immediately I can feel some good bourbon aroma filling up my office area here. My glass was about a foot away from me as I poured it, and instantly a wave of sweet caramel came about. A little bit savory out the gate. I usually like to let my glass rest for about 5 minutes before I get into things. What you will sometimes see me do on video is just start to warm up the glass in my hands. I keep my house relatively cold, and sometimes that can mute down notes that are otherwise more volatile and jump into the nose in warmer weather. So you'll see me warming my glass in my hands often just to promote some of that alcohol evaporation, let it form a bulb of aroma in the Glencairn. I'm not trying to warm my hands on it, I'm trying to actually put my warm hands into the whiskey. I know it looks like I'm sitting here freezing, trying to hold a warm glass of bourbon. No, I'm warming it. I'm quite warm. Some would call me a furnace. Alright, diving back into the nose on this. Ooh, okay, very vanilla forward, very toffee forward. I almost get some chocolate undertones like a Tootsie Roll. There's also a bit of complexity here with a floral undercurrent that's happening through here. I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed out of the get-go for the nose. Wow, and suddenly we are in sweet tart land. We are in fun dip candy sugar. This is sugary sweet. It is fruity, very interesting. This is all over the map for aromas. You want to have a very dynamic experience that says, hey, I am Kentucky bourbon on the nose. Boo! This is it. Whole bunch of stuff going on. Now it's raspberries. It's slightly on the dry end in the nose, which has me a little worried that the palate will also follow through, being a little bit dry. Mouthfeel is very important to me as a whiskey reviewer, as a whiskey taster, as a whiskey drinker. Mouthfeel is important. Yep, touch of black pepper in here. Pretty solid. I'm ready for a sip. Let's. Yeah. The worry that I had on the nose has definitely been realized on the palate. This is my first sip of the day at 128.9 proof, so that hit pretty hard for a first sip of the day for sure. Yeah, I think like I was leading on the nose, the palate is definitely a bit drying, a little hot, while the nose put off a ton of aroma that I could easily pick up. I don't really get anything on my first sip on the palate, so hoping that a second sip that little bit of shock of high proof, cast strength, uncut, unfiltered bourbon like Stag Jr is will be out of the way, and I can enjoy a second sip here. Let's try it. Yeah, unfortunately still just kind of feels like a hot mess express here. A lot of folks who remember kind of the single-digit Stag Jr batches will remember that some of them were just pretty hot messes. I'm a little worried that this is in that camp, with 24C just maybe not drinking as cleanly and as neatly as it should. You put this up against the likes of the 2024 George T Stagg, no competition. Maybe I should do that. I think I will. Whoop, there it is. A quick trip to the whiskey study has enabled me to pull out the 2024 George T Stagg. Having something like this in close proximity during a tasting can really help you benchmark what quality means. It can also tell you if you're just having a bad palate day. So let's put George T Stagg in the mix. Well, it's a party now. So if you're following along at home, the Mass Bourbon Alliance MBA glass here is going to be my George T Stagg 2024. If you haven't seen my review of the 2024 George T Stagg, go back in my other videos, watch that video as well. Please read my full review on amongstthewhiskey.com, where I gave it a spectacular score. You're not going to believe it. If you didn't have FOMO before, you do now. Okay, what I like to do here, obviously, I call this palate calibration. Let's see if what I previously rated a 5 out of 5 on amongstthewhiskey.com is landing correctly on my palate today. 2024 George T Stagg is 136. 2024 George T Stagg is 136.1 proof, so this is even higher than the Stag Jr batch that I'm currently reviewing. So if my palate's just not ready for barrel proof, this should drink even hotter. Let's find out. That drinks like silk. Sweet cherry silk. Oh. 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 Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Oh, George. Oh, George, you just drink so nicely. Wow. Okay. Benchmark has been set. That is a 5 out of 5. 2024 George T Stagg. Unbelievable. Now back to our Stag Jr. Does it hold up? Has my palate been acclimated now to proof? Am I able to enjoy 24C? Let's find out. After a bit of palate cleansing so that 2024 George T Stagg doesn't positively influence the Stag Jr. High mineral water, great palate cleanser. For as long as the finish on George T Stagg is, it's gone. Wiped it away with a Gerolsteiner. Okay, back to the nose on 24C Stag Jr. A lot of good vanilla tones still going on here. Definitely still toffee. It's lacking some of the complexity it had at the very start. It's settled into a pretty one-dimensional aroma. I still like that one-dimensional aroma. Kind of reminds me of stepping outside after being in a pool. You're a little bit wet still, and you're stepping outside into very cold air. That just like poignant sharpness in your nose. That's what this smells like. Cold winter air with moist, humid air in your lungs. Yeah. Okay, on to last few sips of the Stag Jr 24C here. It started to turn a little bit citrusy on the palate, which is odd. Maybe a little bit of rye characteristic coming through here. I get like a stale, dried out lemon wedge. That's unfortunately developed into something that I really don't like. Odd. Yeah, it's thin, kind of dry. Almost has like a papery characteristic to it. It is very, very simple on the palate. Now that I've had the George T Stagg and I'm comparing the Stag Jr 24C, I can drink it just fine. The proof isn't really a problem anymore. It's not such a hot mess express, but where it is now settled down, it's also settled all of its flavor out, which for me is pretty disappointing. The very, very subtle, very low, light, short linger that's going on is that of like it's got almost a dry raisin characteristic to it. You'll see me like wincing a lot. I'm like trying to be kind to this, but I'm really just not liking it. Yeah, I don't know. Just not landing. Okay, late in the glass. little bit of nutmeg going on there. It's just very simple. I mean, you'll hear me throwing out very simple notes, and it's not one of my more extravagant reviews because it's not really all that extravagant of a whiskey. So, there you have it. Last sip for it to redeem itself. Let's find out, folks. Okay. I mean, serviceable is maybe a word that I would use to describe this. Yeah, it's just kind of bland. It started hot, and it finished bland, which is just like 2 negatives. Twist my arm, make me rate it right now before I let it get some airtime. I'm thinking maybe somewhere around a 2.5. We'll see if time, air, little oxidation can improve this bottle, but right now, I'm thinking it's kind of a dud. 24C, you ain't it. Yeah, finish doesn't really carry a lot of flavor. There's just not much to say about this bottle. Sorry. But that should be telling for you, my wonderful viewer. Let me know down in the comments, am I being too kind at a 2.5 out of 5 based on what you are seeing me experience here? My facial expressions. Do you want to see me taste this again? Let me know down in the comments. The only way I'm going to know what kind of videos you want to see is by giving me feedback. Drop me a nice comment. Drop me a mean comment. Whatever you want to do. Thanks. And if you want to just rage that I'm going to drink the 2024 George T Stagg again, that's fine too. God, the nose is so ultra-aged. It smells like Bible pages. Still stand by my statement. 2024 George T Stagg is the best George T Stagg that I have tasted. You want to know my power ranking? I'll drop a link down in the description to the Stag Hub. You're going to want to read that article. A lot of good Stag info there. That is going to do it for today. I am going to go enjoy the rest of this 2024 George T Stagg, and I hope to catch you, my friend, in the next video. Until then, keep it amongst the whiskey.